Morning, everyone. Good morning. It's nice to have a big crowd here for the State of the City. I really appreciate that many of you got up this morning pretty early and came out here to the Chamber breakfast to begin with. Thank you, the Chamber, and thank you to, I believe it was Dairy Cream was our sponsor. Thank you very much for that. That was absolutely lovely. Really appreciate that. As you walked in on the table outside, and if you didn't get this, you can catch it on the way. This is the annual report, and many of you might have received this already in a mailer, either to your home or to your business. And this highlights a lot of the things that are going on in the city. There was a 75-year anniversary of our fire department, and that's in there. And there's a whole lot about some of the new things that we're doing at the liquor operations with our craft beer and with our keg of whiskey that I believe we sold out of as soon as this went out published. So hopefully they'll do that again. I hear it was really good, and I didn't even get a sip of it to try. So pick this up and read this. I'm going to cover just a few things in here, but mostly I'm going to talk about Richfield and how we're poised for the future. I think that's a very important topic as we move forward. And the one word you're going to hear over and over again is innovation. And not just from me, but I've been hearing it from our businesses and from our schools. So we're going to talk about that. But first, I need to introduce our council members to you. And most of you know our council, but you might not know is that Mike Howard took Sue Sandal's job when she retired, ran and won that position. And we're really happy to have him. He's a communications person over at the Capitol. And so he lends himself to a great communicator. I have already seen constituents come up after the meetings and thank him for listening to him. He is really reaching out into the community. He also has a voice of a young parent and a different demographic than what's sitting on our council now. So please get to know him. He's a brilliant young man, and he will serve you well. So, and all our other council members, Councilmember Garcia is here, and I saw Councilmember Fitzhenry's in the back, and I know that Councilmember Elliott sends his regrets. He's actually working today. So, and so am I guess. So we all are. So I wanted to talk about that. But I wanted to talk about poised for the future, and I wanted to talk about cities of the future. This is a city of the future. This is in South Korea. This is a city called Songdo, and it has a population of about 70,000 people. It's what they call an ideal test bed. It's 1,500 acres of reclaimed land. It's 40 miles southwest of Seoul, South Korea, and it's called the High-Tech Utopia. Cisco Systems is over there working with this city. They have put sensors throughout the entire city. They measure everything from garbage to energy use to climate change to pedestrian traffic, everything. It was built to promote a low-carbon city, and it's a sustainable city, and it's built for tech and business. There's 3 colleges that have come there from the United States and have had auxiliary campuses there. It has a central garbage system that is piped underneath the city. So all you do is take your garbage to the pipe, and it goes into a central location. It is sorted automatically, recycled, and the stuff that can't be recycled is used to make electricity. It takes 7 people to run because of the automation. So it's the largest real estate development in the entire world that's been done. $40 billion to build that. It's incredible to see. Probably you see Psy up there for Gangnam. See that picture? That was where that was filmed. That's where he did that in Seoul, South Korea. It sounds like a wonderful place, doesn't it? It's 40% green space, not heard of in Asia before. It's to make it much more livable. But the problem is there's only 7,000 people. People don't move there. People don't necessarily want to uproot themselves where they're at and go there. So one of the things we know is that a city, you can build a $40 billion city of the future, but people don't necessarily want to live there. That's an interesting, what does it really take for people to want to live in a city, right? Well, they thought they got it right, but maybe they haven't. So let's go to a different city. Let's go to something that's maybe more akin to Richfield. This person here is Deb Acosta. She is the Chief Innovation Officer for her city of San Leandro. This is something new. We don't usually hear of a Chief Innovation Officer in what we would consider a smaller town. This city is south of Oakland, San Francisco, and Berkeley. Think of how you would be as that city with that kind of competition in your area for people. So what she is doing is bringing innovation into the city. They want to become one of the tech players in the field. So what they have done is they have committed to put 7 miles of fiber optic of 100 gigabyte technology down in their business area to attract those folks. They already have people living there who like it there. It's a cheaper suburb to live in than San Francisco for sure, or even Oakland for that matter. But that's how they look at themselves. They're small enough and nimble enough to be able to do some new technology things. One of the things they're going to do with their technology is something called the cool factor. Well, Psy may have been the cool factor in Songdo. That didn't help it a whole lot, right? But the cool factor that's in San Leandro is that they have coffee shops that are going to pipe in music from Austin, Texas, some of the big hit players. That's one of those cool factors, kind of like our Lin 65, right? Or our Pizza Luce. We have some cool factors. They have cool factor too, and they realize the cool factor is something that people want in their communities. One of the things they talked about is the fact that open data is the way we invite citizens in. That now that we have the technology and the apps, that opening up all our big data to our citizenry is going to be the one way to engage them. They do want to know that thing, but they don't want to come down to City Hall and ask for this. They want to be able to touch something on a screen and get it quickly, and they want to be able to manipulate it so they can see it the way they want it. That's happening now, those kinds of things. And San Leandro is ahead of the things. So they also know that one of the things that people like too is the public spaces with public art. It's a real big piece of it. So it's a broad base of that. But they are working with their businesses, and they are coming together so that they make a new city, so that they're competitive. One of the things that she said about competitiveness is that it's local and global. There isn't a city that doesn't compete globally. There isn't a business that doesn't now compete globally. There's no escaping that. And they said that cities who can be scrappy businesses, that can be flexible, they will be the ones who succeed in this next future because they can make the moves quickly and they can adapt to what's going on. So when we talk about this, we talk about innovation. Well, so what is innovation? Well, innovation is about a lot of things. It's about how we measure things. It's about water. It's about money and budget, all the same things that we've been doing, but it's about having a real presence in the internet, and it's about how we're going to be competitive in the future. So this is all around innovation. And I want to tell you that I've talked a lot of things about partnerships, and I've talked about what we're doing development and everything. But there's a lot of things I've covered in the past that actually have been adding to our future in innovation. And I want to bring that to the light right now. And I want to talk about how Richfield is reinventing itself and how our innovation has led us to where we are. We have Lakelands. One of the things we know about is health and food. People are more interested in what they put in their bodies than they ever were. And with the new healthcare systems, there will be more and more information about how we eat healthier and do better, and how we walk, and how our community interacts with ourselves, and how open we are to that. And that's where Richfield is headed. So this new downtown kind of has the cool factor, I'd call it. And as we reinvent 66th Street, and we see the boulevards and the public places together, and the biking trails that will happen, we will see more and more public interactions. You know what? We're going to be competitive, just like San Leandro. This is relevant, and all of this adds to our future. So we're looking at what's going on right around our community. One of the things that we've talked about is the face of retail. Retail's changed. Again, we talked about that everybody's global and everybody's local. Everybody's an internet presence now, right? You really have to have one, a business. We've got Bob, the site builder here. talking about how every business really needs to be on the internet. You need to be able to be found. You're not going to be found in the yellow pages anymore. You got to be up on the internet. Well, when we look at cell phone stores, they're kiosks now. They're not storefronts necessarily, some still, but they get smaller and smaller. When we looked at the BMO Bank building and we looked at the ribbon cutting there, it's a tenth of its size. The bank is, because banking has gone to the internet. Best Buy has a smaller footprint. Target now has a scaled down store. All this retail is changing because of that. And one of the things when I talked to Richfield Bloomington Credit Union, Pat Brecken, he was telling me that if he expands anything, he will expand for the people who are on his chat lines and helping people with internet transactions, because that's where his growth is. The growth has changed. And so he doesn't necessarily have to be in that building he's at. It could be at another remote location, or some people even at their home. So let's talk about what is Richfield doing that's innovative? What have we been looking to the future for, and what are we concerned about? I want to talk about water conservation. There's been a lot of talk about water. We seem to be a very water-rich place, but the Met Council is very concerned about our water management and what we're going to do and what water is for the future. The world only has 2% fresh water, and some of that's already hooked up into the Arctic and Antarctic, so it's frozen. And what we have to protect and we have to manage. We have been really successful at a tiered pricing structure, and we have been educating people that they don't necessarily need to water that lawn. A little brown won't hurt it. It'll come back in the fall, right? And people have been watering less. And in fact, we've had some of the most success in the metro area at lowering the use of water per capita by about 20% since we instituted this in 2000. So we have some real successes about what we're looking for our future. Water will be at a high demand, and it will cost more as we move forward. We're measuring energy. Maybe you didn't know that we started a project with 26 other cities several years ago to measure all our energy. Now, I'm not just talking about the electricity used and the gas. I'm talking about what it takes for our waste hauling, what it takes for generating our water here. We're talking about transportation. We're talking about trips that people take in and out of our city. And we're measuring all those things. The vehicle miles traveled in and out of the city. Imagine that. And we did it per capita. And we're following what we're doing. Because as we look at the innovation of trying to be more energy efficient, of lowering a carbon footprint, the only way we're going to know if we get there is by measuring it. And we can measure it per capita. We can go down to the minute little house. So we could check on somebody's home or somebody's business to see what their total energy use is. And we can go up into the macro, into the metropolitan area. This has been such a successful pilot that it has now been taken on by several nonprofit organizations and ULI, and we will be doing the entire state for 5 years. We will be measuring it. This is the only thing. This is a national model. Nobody else is doing this across the nation, and we are a part of that. We are part of looking at what our future is going to be and figuring out where we need to be moving. So one of the things I want to talk about is our buildings. So how have we been sustainable? We've looked very carefully at what we do with many things. In this building particularly, we have huge daylighting controls. If you were ever at the old City Hall, you would have never seen daylight like this. This is quite amazing. And the lights go down with that and dim because of that. So we have lighting switches, we have occupancy sensors, we have low wattage indirect light bulbs. This is the whole shell of the building, and all our buildings when we build them are energy efficient, and the shell really matters to keep the energy in. That's one of the biggest things. We have high efficient motors that we have in here. We have lights that turn off and task lights. We have an energy management computer system for this building so that we know where things are going, and when things go awry, we can go fix it so it doesn't chew up the energy bills. We have low VOC finishes in here because we have such a tight building, but we have high energy efficient filters that keep the air very clean and everything. So it's a very pleasant experience in here. So it's not just about the energy efficiency, but it's also the interaction with the people who have to work here. So we also have noise control. So there's places too where we've mitigated so that the noise and other people can work where there's lots of people still around so you can hear. So those are some of the things that we have done in our buildings to be sustainable. One of the other things is of course, many of you may know about the geothermal that we have over at the City Hall, at the, Public Works Building. But the ice arena is one of our success stories. In 2010, we did a huge retrofit in that building. And what we did is we were able, the technology arises now, that we can now look at what and project in the future how much savings. We took those savings, bonded, and then made all these great improvements to our ice arena to make it a energy efficient project. We added a lot of insulation, we added new doors, but mostly we really redid all the mechanicals in there. And it was a huge savings as we move forward. And of course, now you know it's the home of the Minnesota Pacific as we look at the expansion. One of the other things I want to talk about is the experiences of what we've done. And one of the things that we look at as our carbon footprint, some of the other projects, are rain gardens. We have a rain garden over at the Public Works Building, but also some of our citizens have actually gotten grants to put rain gardens in their own homes. And so rain gardens are one of those tools that we use for our stormwater. And managing our stormwater is a very big deal. We don't do it like most of the other cities. Bloomington and Richfield have a collaborative together. Most other places belong to some kind of a district or another organization, and they're very prescriptive. And being that they're so prescriptive, what the problem being is when you have a developer in here, they have to put in this big stormwater project on that development site because it's very prescriptive. As the city, we've taken a totally different look at that, and we manage our stormwater by the entire city. What that allows us to do is allow these developments to go ahead and say, you don't have to put this much of a retention pond so that your project doesn't work. We want your project to work. So we'll do the stormwater management pieces for you, and you pay into the pile so that we can manage it better. We do a better job. When things don't silt up and things like this, the city manages it all. We keep it all clean. We do all the maintenance. But it allows us to be flexible throughout the entire city for when we're looking at redevelopment projects. That's something other cities don't have. That's a tool they don't have. And we have fought long and hard to keep that and to be autonomous because of that. It allows us to be innovative where other cities are not. One of the things we talk about too is being open and transparent. That's what San Leandro said. It's about big data. People want to see things. They want to know things. They want to go to the website and they want to find it. This is a budget tool I've talked about before. And what you can do with this budget tool is you can look at individual departments, you can look at the budget as a total, and you can drill down to the minute detail to this budget and figure it out. And then if you need to, you can send off an email and ask a question. You can figure out what's going on in the budget. This is about giving data access to our citizens. This is about transparency. This is what the future holds, big data. And I want to talk about the Richfield Connection. This is another connection we're doing. If you haven't signed up for this, do so, because I know that I monitor it, and I believe that all our council members also monitor this. We ask questions about snow plowing services. We talk about the new playground equipment that's going on. One of the things I can say is that this is something that we really want to do for our citizens, because we want real-time data and feedback as we look at things and what's going on in the city. This is how we get that, and there are conversations going on here. This is you're not anonymous on this at all, but that's a good thing because we can have the conversation back and forth, and it's an online tool where we can have those conversations, and that's very important. And finally, I just want to talk about the budget. You know, every year I put the budget slide up, and every year we have a balanced budget. So, you know, that's nothing new. That's standard business practice as far as for what Richfield believes in. We believe in a balanced budget, but it's what we do with those budgets and how we innovate within all those departments that really matters. And one of the things that we're doing that I'm so excited about is our innovation teams. When you look at cities, they have a lot of silos. Or you look at big Minneapolis and everything, they have a public works department, they have a health department, they have an environmental department. We have those departments kind of, sort of. What we have is cross-functional teams that are looking at what we call innovation. And so the public works people know the people in administration, know the people in public safety, know the fire department people. They sit together. They know the technology people. They know what they do. They know where they sit, and they know what cool tools they're talking about because they're always talking to each other now. And they're trying to figure out what's the next big data piece that we need to be doing. What's the next big data that people are going to want to see, what we're going to do, and what's going to be advantageous for us. I mean, the city is already fiber optic, and we always your water bills already come into the city because of that. So that was a big data piece. Well, then there'll be next steps from there. I'm not quite sure what some of those innovations are going to be, but they're going to happen. And they're going to happen through this social media. I'm really excited that we keep expanding. Look at where we're at. We keep expanding our social media presence everywhere. And every day we try to figure out more ways to interact and get data back. But some of the interesting work that's being done on this big data and on social media is that we have social demographers that are studying data like this. So what are they doing? They're looking at your tweets. They're looking at your Facebook. They're looking at your Instagram, and they're looking at the online forums that you're talking about. And they're picking out the main ideas. And what they're doing is that they're mapping it in your city. So if you look at a city like San Francisco, which I've seen the data on, there's like a little circle of people all in green. They're the geeks. They all live kind of together, and they all talk about tech. And then there's a whole another circle that's all about theater and the arts, and they all seem to be talking about each other, right? And what they like. And there's a whole host of it, and every city is different. So when we talk about diversity, we need to add another layer to that. We need to talk about the diversity of ideas. And we need to know where they are. Because if we're going to communicate to those people, maybe we meet some of those people at the music venue, not what we think would have been something that they would have liked. Maybe we meet them in their little geek rooms where they're chatting, right? But we don't meet them all at the same place, because when you want to get messaging across, you need to look at who's talking about what and where they're at. And you need to meet them where they are at, not where we're at. And that makes for a better city. So I want to talk about our Richfield Schools for a minute, because we talk about innovation. I'm very happy to say that we have a wonderful new superintendent. Thank you, Steve, for being here today. And I've had some conversations with a lot of the staff over there at the school. And what they are doing is incredible. We heard last night, Council Member Howard talked about the graduation rates coming up, and through diversity, which is not happening in a lot of other schools. So thank you for the hard work that you're putting into this. But there's some huge infrastructure projects going on. Your tax dollars are working to complete the rewiring of the district network. And there's going to be new data network closets all over the school. They're replacing all the data network electronics. This is much needed. This is very old and dilapidated at the school. So the creation of a wireless network going from 96 wireless access points to 550. Imagine the access that means for these children, for these schools. Closing the technological divide has been my mantra for a very long time. This is how we do it. And I take my hats off for them having. The innovation consists of 3 words. They talk about it: innovate, connect, and grow. The future is going to be those kinds of innovation with technology and connecting, and our children will only be successful if they are part of this. Those who do not join in the technological foray that's happening, they will be left behind, unfortunately. So technology will support the success of all the members of the Richfield Public Schools, currently working on goals. They're doing an innovation plan. So we've heard of strategic plans, which they are doing a strategic plan, but this is an innovation plan within a strategic plan, which is very much this. So they're creating this new strategic plan to guide the schools. They're improving graduation rates. We've seen that already. They're focusing on teams of teachers, too, and investing in their teachers more. We saw a great investment with the STEM school, which I'm very pleased to say is doing quite well. And they're reallocating budget funds so that classroom sizes are small and that our students get the kinds of time that they need so that they're successful in their graduation. They're creating a technology infrastructure that supports student learning. So they're improving, and the one thing that they're working is improving their communications and marketing to share the stories in Richfield. And I've invited the superintendent to come to one of our council meetings and talk about the great things that are going through our school. So we'll see him probably at one of our council meetings very soon. And I want to talk about our partnership. Kansas City has a partnership with Google. And you know what they did? They entirely wired the entire town of Kansas City, Missouri. I'm so envious. But those are partnerships. We have really great partnerships too. We have partnerships with some of the car dealerships that are putting in EV stations and cafes. They're looking at the cool factor and they're looking at innovation. And they realize that the future is different. And they're talking to the city to figure out how to do this better and how we can work together and do things together. So our businesses are coming to us and they're talking about those kinds of things. And again, we're talking about online presence that's even smarter and faster. And as we look at the city and our fiber optic network, we're looking at what's happening with our roads being reconstructed, and we're seeing if there's opportunities for us to add some kind of fiber optic or technology drive that will help the future. We never stop looking for the next big thing and what we need. And we know as we look at big data, we have these big systems, which is really cool. We don't have to reinvent them. But the technologies to dive into them and pull the data out is increasing all the time. And it'll be exciting to see what happens in the future. But I would be remiss if I didn't stop with the slide at the end. If you see Linda Slocum, please shake her hand and thank you. She loves Richfield. And we love Linda Slocum. She has fought long and hard. And all our representatives supported the underpass, but it's Linda who walked that thing through the governor's office, through the Senate, and all over to try to make sure that this happens for us. And this will change our future. And I can't thank her enough, and I hope you will remember to thank her too when it comes to that. It's an incredible thing that she did for us, and the East Side will change because of what she did. And I just want to hold up the Sun Current. Developers unveil new vision for the East Side, indoor farming, skydiving proposed for Cedar 494 corridor. This also talks about a biodigester making electricity for the city of Richfield. This is the vision of a future. This is what we will do. This is about electricity. This is about sustainability. It's about food systems. It's about what our competition will be doing. We will be ahead of the curve of everyone else. And that's what excites me about the future and about Richfield. And I want to thank everyone for all the support that you have given me and our council. And I want to thank our staff and our city council for all the great votes that they have. They are progressive, forward-thinking people who believe in innovation. And I would be remiss, Edwina showed me this. I made the papers again, guys, and it was good. And this was about transportation. Again, we've talked a lot about transportation with the underpass being such a big piece of needing that for the reliever of 494. We were talking about the 494-35W corridor, and we were talking about the congestion issues and the crumbling infrastructure, both at the city level and the county and state. And we are in support of a long-term sustainable gas tax that will long-term fund the transportation infrastructure we need. So I just wanted to show you that. Yeah, that's our new Met Council chair. And of course, Charlie Zelli's in the picture in the background, and so is my friend Jean Winstead, who also supports this, mayor of Boston. So I just want to say thank you, and I think I got a couple of minutes that I could do a couple of questions if people have questions. Do I have a what? They're talking about giving us the first chunk of money for the design, about $2.5 million for the design piece, because that's got to be the first piece of it. And now we're working on gathering our resources to look at the acquisition for Motel 6. We will have to acquire that piece of property. So this is a city project. Yep. We actually, that's a good question. And actually, I would say that we've already had a part in that because we've had to reconstruct bridges in anticipation of this. And there will be more of that. That will be the part that we will work. And some of that will be state and federally funded, and we will always have a portion of it that the city has to put in. Because there's still the 12th Street Bridge to go, and there will be some other construction. But the other piece of that is that 494 can't be widened until that underpass goes in. There will not be the capacity on American Boulevard to take all that traffic. Richfield will have to take some of it for the portion of that reconstruction project. And that's the next piece. And in fact, we spoke to that at the press conference. So we won't be paying for the interchange, but we will be having to do some of the bridge improvements. But we will have a lot of help with state aid. Question. Are you ready for the future? I am. There'll be driverless cars here soon. There were decisions on all the roundabouts. The council voted in favor of Nicollet and Lyndale roundabouts, and we did not vote in favor of the ones at the 35W ramp. So we'll have some other solutions. Looking forward to seeing how we still might make that a better traffic solution and make it safer and effective. So we were moving forward on that. Other questions? So I want to thank you all for coming here today, and I'll stick around, and you guys can ask questions or come up and say thank you.